Hello, my friends. Father Scott Vanderveer here. And today, communication is on my mind. Communication with others and the challenge that sometimes we face when we have to say something to someone that we don't want to say, something that's likely to disappoint them, something that might not allow us to maintain our normal self-image of being a helpful and compliant kind of person. I'm talking about the word no. And I recently was asked by a priest friend to do something that really honored me. It was really a very nice and kind and generous request, but that didn't feel right to me. As I thought about it and I prayed about it, I felt uncomfortable for a couple of reasons. And I knew that saying no would be disappointing to this priest friend for reasons that would be obvious. So I had to employ some of the lessons I've learned from my own spiritual growth and from my experience with the 12 steps. And I'd like to share 2 little communication guidelines that come from the 12 steps that I think you might find helpful and that I know assisted me in having to say no to this dear priest friend when he was asking for something that was totally acceptable, totally appropriate, but that was not going to work for me. Here is the first rule. When you need to communicate with somebody and you need to say something to them that is maybe disappointing for them, or that maybe establishes a boundary, like someone is asking for a level of access or some kind of relationship that doesn't feel appropriate in that time, the rule is to say what you mean what you say, and don't say it mean. Don't you love that? Say what you mean what you say, and don't say it mean. There's no reason to be nasty or defensive when you're saying no to someone. After all, this is what we've been waiting to do since we were toddlers. Ever since we were 2 years old and realized we could say to our mom or dad, no. One of the privileges of being an adult is getting to say, that doesn't feel good to me, or that won't work for me, or that's not appropriate for me right now. It doesn't necessarily need to cast any judgment on the person who was asking, but it's simply the response. It's not what I wish to do. Maybe I don't want to do it. Maybe I can't do it. Maybe it's not the right time for me to do it. But whatever the reason, we as adults have the privilege and the right to say no. And when we have to say no, there's no reason to be mean about it. It's our right to say no. A lot of times we think that no is a dirty word, that we should always be saying yes. And the fact that you're watching this means that you may well be one of those religious people like me. You know, people who are always volunteering for things at the parish, people who have been told that if someone pushes us into service for 1 mile, we should be willing to go 2 miles. And that's all beautiful and it's all true. But it's also true that sometimes we've gone 2 miles with someone and they're asking us for a 3rd mile. Or they're asking us to ride a scooter for that mile when our balance is off and we would get hurt trying to do it. So we are not called to always say yes. Jesus in Scripture says, let your yes mean yes. When it's yes, say yes. But let your no mean no. It's not always yes. We can't and we shouldn't always say yes. Some things we say yes to, and other things we say no to. And our response to a request might depend on many things, including the timing. A lot of us have that that sense that if you had asked me in a less busy time, or if you had asked me when this other circumstance in my life wasn't true, I would have been happy to do this. It might have been an answer to a prayer. But right now, I can't. If someone wants to buy us a drink when we're out at a club or a restaurant, that's such a nice offer. Of course, it'd be nice to say yes. But if we're married and the person who's offering to buy us a drink is doing so because they're interested in us, we're not free to say yes to that. We got to say no. So, no is not a dirty word. If we need to say no, we can say what we mean what we say, which means we can't get talked out of it. Meaning what we say is, I'm not negotiating this. I've considered what I think, and this is my decision. If a person wants to say, well, if you ever change your mind, I would just like to offer this further explanation of why I asked, that might be fully acceptable. As long as it says if you change your mind, or if later on this winds up being a good decision for you, then here's something I'd like to add. That could be very respectful. But if they say, no, come on, please, come on, I really need you to. You have to. Come on, you really should. Why are you being so selfish? You gotta mean what you say. Say what you mean and mean it. Don't let yourself be talked out of it. If your conscience and your intuition tells me, no, then it's important to listen to that and to acknowledge my conscience is telling me this is not right. So someone else's insistence, even if they're saying, this is coming from my conscience. Why is your conscience better than my conscience? Well, because mine was given to me by God and yours was given to you by God. So you get to answer the questions asked of you, and I get to answer the questions asked of me. So I can say what I mean what I say, and then not say it mean. If someone wants to buy us a drink at an event and we say, no, I'm sorry, I'm actually seeing someone, or this is my wife or husband right here, they might say, oh, come on, it's just one drink. Why should a pretty little someone like you? Well, we can say, no, thank you. And then if they say, well, I'm just going to throw it out. I mean, why are you not, what, are you too good? You're going to waste this? You're going to insult me with? None of that is your concern. I need to just say what I mean what I say, and not say it mean. If they insist the third time, we can say what we mean and mean what we say, and not say it mean, but say this. No, and that's my final answer. That's not mean. If someone's pushing, and we say no, and that's my final answer, that's not mean. That's not inappropriate. To be clear, my priest friend offered absolutely no resistance when I said, no, I don't think that'll work for me. And I explained why, because our friendship means a lot, and I wanted him to know why it wasn't going to work for me. It was very reasonable and smooth. But a lot of us know what it's like to be in a conversation with someone who's trying to talk us out of what we've decided, what we feel, at least at that time, is right for us. And that is when another communication guideline is so valuable. This also comes to us from the 12 steps, and that is, no is a complete sentence. Have you ever told someone no and then felt that you needed to say, I am very grateful for what you asked, and I normally would want to do this, and I'm sorry that I've let other things get in the way, and my busyness is probably a problem that I need to look at, and I feel terrible about myself for this, but no. If that is the kind of scaffolding that we need in order to be true to ourselves and say what is true, then perhaps we can add a little bit of that. But the goal is for us to stand in our integrity and in our self-esteem enough that if we need to say no to something, we can say no. Or no, thank you. But if the person says, could you do this for me? It is appropriate to say no. That's a complete sentence. No, I can't. We may wish to add, no, I can't. I'm sorry. But it might be that what they're asking is a boundary violation, and so we're not sorry. So we could just say, no. No is a complete sentence. Isn't that freeing? I don't say no without a thank you or a I'm sorry very often, but I like being aware that that's an option. That a kind, one-word answer, no, is acceptable because it might be what I mean. It might be the right answer. And so I can say what I mean what I say, and not say it mean. Thank goodness for all the people in our lives that ask us things and request the gifts that we have to share because they value us and value the gifts that we have to offer. But thank goodness that all of us are adults and we get to decide with God's grace and guidance what works for us and what doesn't. May God bless you all.